Welcome to Beyond Average, where we spotlight entrepreneurs who are building valuable, transferable enterprises by focusing on the four intangible capitals that drive growth and higher multiples. So I'm Kristin Carlson, and today's guest is Alicia Smith, Vice President, COO, and Interior Designer at F&S Building Innovations. And she's also the chairman of the board of the Build Smart Institute. And she recently won the 2026 Top 50 Women Leaders of Virginia Award. So it's a true trifecta. She also won it in 24, 25, and now 26. So, Alicia, please share a little bit about you and your background and how you got into F&S Building Innovations.
First of all, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. Um, my family, my father started F&S Building Innovations 50 years ago.
Oh
This
my
is
God.
our 50th anniversary this coming fall.
Congratulations.
So we have big things planned for that. So by virtue of that, I've grown up always being involved in the business. When I was small, he started out building custom homes. So he would work all day, come home, eat dinner with the family, and then hop back in the truck to go make rounds, checking on job sites. And oftentimes I and my sisters would ride with him. So at a young age, we were exposed to construction, seeing the framing go up, seeing all those things happen. And I think really early on, I just fell in love with it. Growing up, I always wanted to be an architect. I didn't exactly go that route, but now I am designing homes as a Class A general contractor. So things come full circle.
Awesome. So, is he still in the business or are you
He
working on
he is still definitely still owner. He does not work in it on a daily basis. He spends a lot of time in Florida, where it's much warmer, and I have kind of taken over the executive management role. We've got both a residential and a commercial division, and we've got very robust renovation jobs in both sides. Between those two divisions, we typically will do 400 or 500 residential and close to that many commercial as well projects each year. So we've got a huge team behind us that works really hard. Um, but I've it's a legacy business. So I've learned it from the ground up and, stepped into more of the management role. And man, I learn something new every single day.
So you've been there a long time. I mean, what is the culture? What really sets you apart in building such a great team?
I think our culture is what sets us apart from most construction companies. When you walk down our halls, you hear laughing, joking, talking. You don't hear ranting, raving, screaming, cursing. It doesn't mean that things don't go wrong because they do. We're in construction. My dad has always called it controlled chaos. Even on a good day, you have things that are unexpected that you didn't anticipate. So we want to make sure that we keep that culture here. And I'm very careful about who I hire. I've long moved past the days of just filling a spot with a body. I want to make sure that we've got the right people. Square pegs and round holes do not suit anybody ever. And we've done that before. We've tried to just fill positions before with the wrong folks. And I think I've directly learned that you need to fill the right positions with the right folks, even if you have to wait a little bit longer to find them. And we've kind of curated a culture that's very collaborative. Our team works together very well. Between all the people in management, 12 or 13 people, you have hundreds or even thousands of years of knowledge that all collide in one room when we're trying to solve a problem. So that's amazing.
Right. And do you feel like that culture actually is attracting top talent to your organization?
We do, and it's funny, over the years, we've had some folks who have been presented an opportunity, they resign. And of course, I want people to do what's best for their family. And if that's somewhere else, I wish them well. And many times it's not very long because they come back and they're like, oh, it was not what I thought. Can we come back? So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the grass is not always greener, right?
It is not. It is not.
Is there any special things you do for team building or connecting people within your organization?
So we definitely, on a regular basis, I would say no. It's more of an everyday team building. I mean, I make the effort to know what's going on in people's lives. We celebrate birthdays. We have huge Christmas parties. We give good bonuses. We give specialty bonuses when folks do something that's outstanding. But building a good team, I think, is less about the events and more about just how we interact together every day. And that's really important to me that we treat our customers, our subcontractors, and our team like our own family.
And what do you educate people when they come in about the culture and how to operate as one of your team members?
Absolutely. We definitely want to make sure they understand coming in because construction is not a culture that typically cultivates that kind of culture. It's just not. And there are some times where maybe that person's just not a good fit or we're not a good fit for them. if you have a certain way of operating that doesn't fit within our culture, then, we're just not a good fit. Find something different, probably. But we definitely do stress that. And we enforce it. I mean, if something is not done the way that we would appreciate, we're going to sit down and talk about it and give an opportunity to get better next time.
Excellent, excellent. And as you kind of grew up in the company, how did your mindset change becoming a leader and starting to really lead the organization?
Well, I tell you, growing up, I always said I'm never going to work in the family business. Well, that didn't work out so well. And actually, for about 15 years, we had a different company. It was a light gauge steel framing company that shipped internationally. And I left and ran that for 15 years. When we closed that and I came back to F&S, I started out when I came back working in marketing and development, but then quickly moving to the next step of managing and working with all of our team because I love people. I really do. And I'll tell you, I have a strong personality. I say exactly what I think. I'm very direct. And those 15 years away from F&S were helpful for me because I've learned how to curb that, how to soften that to some degree. I can still be very direct, but say it in a way that's not, you don't feel like you got slapped when you walk away. And when I was younger, I did, I was trigger happy. I didn't think about my words sometimes. So I've definitely been able to learn how to still speak clearly, but kindly.
Awesome, awesome. And now, do you have the next generation also in the business, or what does that
We
look like?
don't currently. So my family has several folks that are in college or in their teen years. In fact, one of my daughters wants to go into real estate, but if we're being honest, she will probably go into the family business.
We won't let her listen to this.
Right. So secret.
Yeah. So they haven't really expressed interest yet that they want to be a part of it. But I mean, what advice would you give them if they are considering it?
So both of my daughters have worked here in summers as
Okay.
assistants, kind of an intern type capacity. So as far as advice, as far as coming into the construction industry or into our company?
Well, into both, I think,
Okay.
would it be attractive to go in the construction industry? And then, what if they were to come into the company? What were the expectations be?
Yeah, so I would say that right now, especially women, you have a huge opportunity in this industry. There's a wage gap in most industries between female and males, but in the construction industry, it's only about a 3% gap.
Interesting.
It is. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So there's a great opportunity for young women right now. And construction, it's such a broad range. Whether there are actually females. We have a trade school too called Build Smart Institute. We are training for the trades. So we've got about a 12,000 square foot facility where they can learn plumbing, electrical, carpentry, all those things, project management. So if young ladies right now are looking for a good opportunity, construction, oh my gosh, it won't be long before you can write your own check if you go into the trades because our industry is just so starved for people.
Sure. Yeah.
There's hundreds of thousands of electricians that are needed in the next 3 years, hundreds of thousands just to support within our country. So I'm telling you, girls, if you are looking for a way to do satisfactory work that you can step back and see it and you love it and make a killer salary, you need to consider construction.
Right. So if somebody goes into the institute, are they also working at the same time, or how does that work?
So both, there are multiple programs. Some of the programs are structured just like a college. And in fact, we've teamed with several colleges and you can actually use those certificates towards an associate's degree. So for some folks whose parents, trade school might not be what they would prefer, they do want a degree. It's the best of both worlds. They get that trades training and also working towards that associate's degree as well. We have programs that they can go at night, shorter, accelerated type programs where it's 2 or 3 day seminar type studies. So there's something for everybody. We have programs that are designed for folks that have been in the construction industry for decades. Maybe they want to hone their skills or get better in a particular area. They're all NCCR accredited, which is a national accreditation for construction. So there's a little bit of everything. We have some online classes now. There are virtual classes you can take. So however works for you, it's very flexible. We can find a program that works.
Right. Now, is that specific to Virginia, or can
So
students
we are based in Virginia, but especially with the online and the virtual courses, I mean, you could be anywhere and take
Okay.
those. And there are times where businesses will reach out to us and we will go on the road. If they've got enough folks that they want to teach a particular class, we will take it to them as well.
Awesome. And how do you reach the kids in high school so they're aware of this?
That's been a real struggle. That's been one of the things that we've really struggled with. We started in 2020.
Awesome.
A lot of high schools have their own CTE program, and sometimes they feel like we're a competition to them when we're not. We want to supplement what they've already done and build on that. Um,
Right.
so, we're working through those things, working with school superintendents and CTE instructors at the various high schools in the area. We've teamed up with several private schools in our area and held classes, launched programs for them, which has been awesome because they didn't have anything of that nature before. So,
Awesome. And what is your vision for the Institute? I mean, how do you see it in the next 5 years?
in the next 5 years, we've got a lot of opportunities coming our way. Our goal is really just to support the industry. A lot of folks have said, well, did you start Build Smart to support F&S? And the truth is, we've only hired 2 people, which I think we've had close to 700 folks since
Wow.
2020 of varying types of programming, but have come through our doors, and we've only hired 2. So that should tell you we're not doing this to benefit F&S. We're doing this to benefit our industry because it's so desperately needed.
Right, exactly. Well, thank you for sharing that and for giving kids that opportunity. I think the challenge is for them to hear the other side, I think, in school, right? That the trades is a great opportunity for them as a career choice and as an entrepreneur, right? So you're building
Completely.
entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Yes.
So if you were to give some advice to a new entrepreneur, what would you share with them for their journey?
I would say, here's the way I've always operated. I do things way faster than anybody else. Some people come up with an idea and they're going to think about it for 6 months. They're going to get a focus group together and talk about things. They might sit down and write down a development plan. Then they might get more serious and put some strategic development. By the time you've done all that, I've had an idea. I've executed it 3 times. I may have failed 3 times, but I've arrived at the right answer and I've moved on to the next thing. So sometimes action conquers, I don't know what the word is, but don't be afraid to
Procrastination.
fail, Don't be afraid to fail because I'm hard headed. The best way that I learn is when I mess something up. That doesn't mean just strike off completely with no planning whatsoever, but it does mean don't be afraid to take action. Take action sooner than later because that's what will get you to the next level, over the next plateau, onto the next vision or dream or whatever that you have. Um, the other thing I would say is once people get started in their business is to recognize and realize early income does not equal profit. They've got to learn to pay attention to what is it actually costing them to do this work? What is their cost of business? I see so many young, early businesses that they get all this business and they get these big numbers, but they can't sustain it and they still can't pay their bills. They're robbing Peter to pay Paul. So pay attention to growing in a sustainable manner. Big numbers aren't always a good thing.
Right. And right, revenue does, it doesn't have to be just revenue, right? If you can focus on those costs and keeping that cost structure down, you don't need as high a revenue, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Alicia. It's been great to learn about you and congratulations on your awards and what you're doing for the industry. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.